Hi there, here's a quick video showing a simple trading technique for the dog markets. I'll do it manually first and then we'll look at automating it. Very little money in the dog markets, as you're probably aware, so you need to wait till about the last minute before the off. And it's simply a case of going in a minute before the off and placing some later back trades. Now the way I've got this set up at the moment is I'm using a £50 liability simply because of the lack of liquidity. Trading offset of 1, fill a kill of 30. So once this timer reaches 30 seconds, all the existing lays will disappear. Any outstanding offsets waiting to be matched will still remain. But then it's important, irrespective of what your green up position is, when you get to 10 seconds out, you need to trade out for a loss or a profit, doesn't matter. It's not unusual for dog racing to go off a few seconds early, so you have to be careful. So we're at the 10-second mark, so we'll just have to accept a loss of £1.60 in this particular case. Now this isn't a big money earner. You won't find dogs being a big money earner. You'll typically earn plus or minus £1. But that can build up, given that there's so many races available to you. That can build up, obviously. So that's the manual process. Let's have a look at doing it automatically. The first thing that you might want to do is to set up a rule that will simply switch to this market. So let's just show the market. We'll have that set to relative to the event start time of 65 seconds before event start. The action will be show market conditions. You can put any conditions you like in here. Typically you might want to check for the market volume. Let's say it's at least 2,000. Some dog markets can be very, very thin indeed, and so you wouldn't necessarily want to get involved in those. So we'll set that, show the market. Now set up the one that's going to do all the work. For this one we need to apply to all, set the relative time to 60 seconds before event start. The action is going to be place a trade. Now because we're using apply to all, we need to choose all from this list here. It's a lay to back. The odds we want are the best back odds minus whatever offset that you want. We'll use 3 to initially, but you may want to play around with this figure. We'll choose an offset. I did 1 tick offset in the manual example. Let's change that to 2. Switch smart bets on. The fixed amount, I'm going to do £50 liability. Again, you need to cut down your stake level with the greyhound simply because of the lack of liquidity. We won't have a stop loss, we won't have repeat on success. A fill a kill of 30 seconds. And bet persistence is irrelevant since we won't be going in play in any case. Conditions, you want to make sure that we've actually switched the market, keeping in mind that that rule contains a condition for the volume. So we want that to be equal to 1. Make sure you choose the corresponding rule. Oh, forgot to give it a name. Just give me a sec, we'll go back in, change its name, place, way to back, trades. And then finally you'll want a rule that will green up at the 10-second mark. So again, that's going to be relative to event start time, 10 seconds. The action is going to be green up all selections. Make sure that's switched on. There shouldn't be any conditions because we're just going to green up irrespective of our trade out position. One other thing actually that you might want to do in here is to specify a condition that limits which runners you get involved in. So for example, you might want the conditions so that the odds for your runner is less than a certain value. So let's just say less than 10 ticks, so you're not going to be laying at very high values. Keep in mind that you're still going to be trading out before the off. Okay, let's just save that. Let's see what races are still to come. Okay, we'll apply it to this one. This one's about to go. And we'll just sit and wait for that to come along. Okay, the bets should be going in shortly. As you can see, we're over 2,000 in terms of market volume. We've got a runner Black Rose Martina that's well over the 10, so we shouldn't have a bet on that one. So we've got 5 bets in, 5 trades. We just need to wait for those to be matched. Obviously, if the filler kill reaches 30, those will all be cancelled and there'll be no bet placed. Okay, so those trades weren't actually taken, so no harm done. We can move on to the next race. Okay, this race at Swindon, you can see the market volume's comfortably over the 2,000 limit, so we should have bets going in shortly. For some reason they are going in very slowly. There we go, thank you. Not sure why there was a delay. I don't know if I've got an internet issue. So you can see that we've had one trade on Menu's Girl. That's all the rest of the trades taken, or that's what I should say. And so we've made 40p on that one. Now there's no reason why you can't expand this and do it the other way, a back to lay, simply by modifying this rule. Alternatively, you can incorporate a back to lay option at the same time. So if we just copy this rule, and we'll just modify its title, place back to lay. Same event start time. The action is going to be the same other than it being a back to lay. So it's going to be best lay odds plus 3 ticks. Everything else should be the same. Conditions, we'll have that as the same as well. So that's now going to do essentially the same thing, but place a back to lay trade as well as lay to back trades. So let's just save that and apply that to one of the up and coming races. That looks fairly empty. Let's go to Harlow instead. Okay, back shortly. Now this one's an interesting one. You'll see that we're barely making the £2,000 volume limit. So this hasn't fired. However, it's still live. This is still active. So once that reaches 2,000, that will cause all these rules to fire as well. Now that may or may not be an issue. So let's just see what happens. So there we've reached the 2,000 and it's only 40 seconds out, and these have all fired. So our lay to back and back to lay trades have entered the market later than we really wanted to. And because the filler kill is set to 30, they're not going to get removed until quite late on. So that's something that we may need to look at. Now the bid's going to get cancelled here. We've got one that still needs to be traded out.
10 seconds remaining.
So we've greened up for a small red. So let's have a look at modifying that rule so that it doesn't remain active for too long. To do that, we just simply need to specify a window for this to stop at. So we've got it running from 65 seconds out. Let's let it run for 5 seconds. So we need to change that to 60 seconds. So what will happen now is that rule will be active for a 5-second period. If it doesn't fire within those 5 seconds, these things won't fire because that will still remain equal to 0 and it needs to be equal to 1. Okay, some of the other things that you may want to change or play around with. You might want to play around with the entry point. At the moment I'm 3 ticks off the front of the market. You may want to play around with the size of the offset for your trade. Those are the two main things that you may want to play with. Also, the length of your fill and kill, you might want to extend that slightly. Conditions wise, you don't really need any more conditions than that. The one that you might want to play around with is probably this one here, by increasing or decreasing that, or indeed removing it altogether. And the same argument applies, of course, to the back delay trades that you're placing. One final thing, the eagle-eyed among you may have realised that this routine can be applied to the horse markets as well, both the place and the win markets. So you might want to try that. Again, you may need to adjust the parameters of the various rules if you're applying it to the horse markets. Anyway, there's a very simple trade for the greyhounds. Give it a bash and see how you get on, and I'll speak to you later. Cheers!